Hello, welcome to another class on Break Into Tech. This is Emmanuel Kadri, your regular host, and still on the series on conditional branching. This time around, we are going to be talking about single line conditional statements. In this class, I'm just going to show you how you can represent different if, else, or whatever conditions on a single line. Okay, and then how you can just like an alternative way of achieving the same thing which you could achieve using the multi-line indented form. Okay, now let's just see how it goes. But please, I'm going to pick some examples from the ones that we've done in the past that we saw run properly, and then we use it to explain this one to also see how it runs in this way too. The first example I'm going to pick is the example on the most recent class, which is the if-else example. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this code and bring it down here. Okay, and then what I'll do is just to achieve the same thing, like if you run this program, you're going to get the result 7 is greater than 5. Then how can we achieve this same result but using a single line instead of having this 1, 2, 3, 4, having all these 4 lines? We could just pack everything into a single line and still achieve the same result. Well, there is a technique to doing that. If you do not follow the technique, you are not going to get it right. If, for instance, I decided to put this one here, okay, and I keep this one here, and I keep this one here that way, and then I run the program, there's going to be error. You see that? So there is a technique to doing this. You cannot just put everything into one line and it works like that. So there's just something you have to do, and that is what I want to show you in this video. Okay, now see how it works. The very first thing you do is that let me just return it to how it was before. Okay, all right. So the command, the thing you want it to do, that is the instruction that follows the first if statement, is what you bring first. Okay, like you cut. Let me just cut this one out and then place it here. Okay, so it means do this thing for me. Print x is less than y, provided that x is greater than y. That is to say, under the condition that x is greater than y, do this for me. Or you can say the other way around, do this for me if x is greater than y. Okay, so you are going to remove the column because this one, you cannot use column when it is multiple condition statement like this. Okay, so you remove the colon and then you say, do this for me if x is greater than y. You get that? Then you now put it here, like you now say else, that is otherwise. Remove the colon, otherwise. Okay, you put this one here, otherwise do this one for me. So you get it. So let me say it again. Do this for me if x is greater than y, else, that is otherwise, do this for me. Which means we understand that, okay, if x is not greater than y, then do the next thing. So that is what it means. So print x is less than y if x is greater than y, otherwise print y is greater than x. All right, and so let's run it now and see if it's going to bring error again. You see that it did not bring error, so it worked fine. So that the special technique is just put the command first, put the condition after, then followed by else, then the next condition, that is the resolution. So this one is just fine for this kind of condition. All right, so it works very fine. All right, so just for you to see how it was before compared to how it is now, I'm going to just I'm going to paste the original equation and then comment it out so it doesn't run. Okay, so this is the original one. Okay, the original code structure. This is the original code structure. Okay, so this is how it was before. This is how it was before, but this is how we. So this is what we now made of it. So here's the new code structure, and it worked, and it still worked fine. Okay, so that's it. Now, well, another case. What if we have multiple if-else statements? How do we manage it? How do we manage it? So if, for instance, we have okay, let me just create an example. A case of multiple conditions. So how do we do? Let me check if I can pick from previous examples. Okay, so we have one here. We have the if there is a condition, and when we have the elif, and we have else. All right, just that in this case we have more than one print, more than one print statement. Okay, let me just take it step by step. Okay, let me just use the one that has one. I'm gonna check this. Okay, good. This is a case that we can play with. All right. So what if we have this? How can we represent it in that kind of single line code structure? All right, so I'm going to just paste it. Let me just paste it here. Since we are still using the same variables, x equals 5 and y equals 7, okay? We are still using the same variable. So I'm just going to maintain this, okay? So this is what we are using here. Still x5, y7, okay? All right, so in case of multiple conditions, we have this original code structure is what we have here. All right, so we want to see how we can still make this thing work. Okay, so if I just comment out all of this part, or should I just work it, put it on in another tab? All right, let me just put it in another tab so you can easily follow through. Okay. All right, so I'm going to cut this one out. Okay, so undo. Okay, hold on please, let me just check something. Okay, good. I'm just going to cut this one out and then open a new tab. Okay, single line conditional 2. Single line conditional 2. All right, good. So just to avoid confusion, so you can just be able to follow through. So a case of multiple conditions, okay? So which means I'm having x is equal to 5, y equals 7, and then we have this if x is greater than y, blah 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 blah. You know, if you run this stuff, okay, you have 7 is greater than 5, like this is what you're gonna get. Perfect code, no problems, everything is fine. So how do we represent it? How do we represent it in a linear format? So that's what we just want to check now. All right, let's see how it goes. So if you have this, like I said before, you're going to put this one. Let me just, okay, let me type it. Let me put it on a new line. Okay, so you're just going to put this one. You're going to put it first, okay? The first command, you bring it first. Then you now put the if after it. And say, okay, do this for me. That is, print x is less than y, okay? If x is greater than y. So which means do this for me if x is greater than y. All right? Then you now say, instead of you now putting elif, you're going to use else. You're going to use else throughout in this kind of structure. You're not using any elif or anything else. You're just going to use else all through. Okay, so you said do this for me if x is greater than y. Else, okay, do this for me. Okay, but this time around you're going to put it like you're going to need to repeat the if, you know, every time. Okay, so you're going to say otherwise, that is else, then do this for me with another if. Now say if x is equal to y, no column. All right, do this for me if x is greater than y. Else, that is otherwise, do this for me if x is equal to y. So you're going to put the second if. You're not using elif, you understand? You're going to be using only if and else, if and else, if and else, all through. Okay, regardless of how plenty it is, the conditions are use if and else, if and else, if and else throughout, and else is going to last it. It's going to be the last. Okay, so do this for me if x is greater than y. Otherwise, do this for me if x is equal to y. Otherwise, do the third one. Which is the last resolution. Okay? So, get that? So, it's really a long code. And let me just put end. Okay, good. So what I did is, you know, the first condition, the first instruction, you put it first, then followed by the first condition. Otherwise, the next instruction, you put it, then followed by is condition, but with if instead of elif. Okay, then otherwise, you put the next instruction to, which is this one. You know, there's no other thing again. So no other further instructions, and that is how it locks up. So that is how it goes. So if you run this program, you know, what we got initially was 7 is greater than 5. So let's see if we are going to get the same thing. So I'm going to lock out this one. Okay, so locked out, and then I'm leaving just this one to run. So let's see if we are going to get the same 7 is greater than 5. So let's see. Yeah, we got it right. 7 is greater than 5. Still correct. So now we want to just play around this code and see see how it works generally. Okay. I want to see I want to produce Mr. Emmanuel is great, which means I want to favor the second condition. And the second condition can only be favored if x is actually equal to y. All right? That means the second instruction can only be fulfilled only if x is equal to y. So which means if I come here and I make x and y to be 7, 7, and I run it, okay, it means the second condition is going to work. Okay, because the second condition, the second instruction will only work if x is equal to y. And so I made x and y to be equal, and therefore the second instruction worked for me. So if I want the first instruction to work, I have to make x to be greater than y. That's the only thing that can make the first instruction to work. So let me see if I can do that. If x is greater than y, so if I make x to be 8, 8 is obviously greater than 7. And so if I run this code, it will make the first condition work, which is x is less than y. You know, just an experiment, just to show you how it works, okay? So 8 is not necessarily less than 7, because that's just what we wrote here, what we programmed here, and that's what it brought out. It's not as if x is indeed greater than, 8 is indeed greater than 7. Okay, so it's just that I'm experimenting. Just want to show you how it works. So then, okay, I've made the last part to work, the middle part to work, the first part to work. So that's how it just goes. Okay. Now another experiment I want us to perform. So I'm just going to return this value to what it was before. This is 5 and 7, and I didn't change anything else here. So everything is just fine, okay? And so let's see what happens if we have multiple conditions and we still want to use this single line. Let's see whether it will work or not. Okay, now we are just gonna work that out like the other example I skipped before. Let me check. Yeah, this. Okay. So let's see how it goes with this one. I'm just going to copy this, the number again. Okay, so create a new tab. Excuse me. Right, single conditional 3, and then we drop it there. Okay, so here we go. Remember, this example involves the use of the input statements. Okay, so we have number is equal to integer inputs, blah 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 blah, and everything is just here fine, all well and good. So if number is less than 10, this is just the original code structure. We have original code structure. So we want to put all of this into a single line. And then to achieve that, we just follow the normal format, okay? The normal format is like we copying the instructions first. Okay, bring in the instruction first. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. Okay, we have the print and prints, and we'll do it this way. Okay, then put the condition without the semicolon. I'm sorry, without the colon. All right, so fix it there. Good. Great job. Don't forget, everything has to be on the same line. If you break it into another line, it won't work. I've done that before. So you put the second one Remember, you put the else. The else. And then you put this, which is the second one. Okay, you allow the compiler to drop it into the next line by itself. All right. So while you just continue doing what is right. So we have the two print statements. Don't forget they have to follow each other. All right. So then, okay, good. All right, so you put else, and then, okay, sorry, if you put the next condition says if number is equal to 10. So and then the third condition, okay, don't forget you put else. Then you put the third instance, the instruction, and fix it there. So just arrange it to make sure that everything is intact. You remember that the print statement here is indented, so you throw it back to join with the next one. And so we have everything here on a single line. Okay, we have everything on a single line now. And just checking. Just checking for any possible. Okay, so we end it. Just checking to see if everything is perfect. So we have if number is 10. Okay, let's just start from the beginning. You print great job, you have entered number blah blah blah. You print no, and then the second print statement. Okay, so both of them should be displayed, provided that number is less than 10. Otherwise, print this one and also print this one. Okay, provided that number is equal to 10. Otherwise, print this one. Okay, and also print this. Okay, so I think we've done a great job here, putting everything into a single line. So no issues, everything is fine, perfect. Okay, so I just want to, before I run this, let me just comment it. So we just run, so we run the normal one. Okay, let me just comment this one out. All right, so from here to here, okay, you just want to see how it runs normally. So when you run the program, you run the code. So what we expect this to do for us is to prompt us to enter a number from 0 to 10, which it just did. So we enter a number from 0 to 10. Let's say I entered number 8, which is less than 10. So since 8 is less than 10, the first condition is favored. And so the first instructions will be carried out. So when I press the enter button, it did that. So the first instruction says print, that is display. Great job, you have entered number blah blah blah, and then you put the number. So great job, you have entered number 8, because I entered 8, which is the number variable, and it worked fine. Then the next print statement says 8, that is number, which is what I entered here, number 8, okay, is less than 10, and it worked very perfectly. Okay, so that's it. Then if I run the code again and I make x to be 10 this time around, and I run it, you see, it will favor the next one, which is print. Okay, great job, you have entered number 10. Okay, this number is the number here, and this number here, which is the variable number in color white, is the value that you entered, okay, after the prompt, which is number 10, and then that is 10 here. The 10 you entered here is what comes here to replace this white variable here, which is number. Okay, then it says that same 10, which is number, which is 10, is equal to 10. So everything works fine. Okay, great. So let's run it again, and we want to, look for a situation where the number is neither less than 10 nor equal to 10. So if it is not less than 10 and not equal to 10, then the third resolution becomes favored. That is, the resolution becomes favored. All right, so we resolve that. Okay, fine. If none of the first two conditions are true, then do this one. That is, else, do this one. Okay, so we want to do it that it will be no number from 0 to 10. It will be just any other number. So let's run it as 15, which is any other number. And say you have entered number 15. Sorry, this input is invalid, because the instruction says 0 to 10. And you have programmed it that if it is not anything from 0 to 10, then tell the user that this input is invalid. So which means if it is neither less than 10 but equal to 10, then it means it is something more than 10. So whenever it is something more than 10, then display this result. Even to an extent that if we put anything that is not even a number, maybe we put a string, and you put maybe ima something, and then it returns an error. Okay, I'm going to teach you something later on to avoid this kind of error. That even though you entered something that is not a number, instead of it bringing this error, it would actually bring an alternative report that you had created yourself. So we are going to get to that later on. All right, so I'm going to teach you how to handle that. But for now, just know that if you put anything that is not a number, okay, you put anything that is not a number, you put a string, it's going to return this error. Why? Because you have cast this input, you have cast it into an integer. So which means that expectedly, anything that comes out from the input statement is supposed to be an integer. All right, so which will be stored as number, be stored as this variable number, and then before it becomes utilized in any part of the program. So if you do something that is not a string, that is not an integer, okay, or let me say it's not a number, it is just going to return this error. Okay, so that's how it goes. It's normal. Now, we have seen how this one works, the original code structure worked. So we are going to lock out the original code structure now and lock it out. And then let me just rearrange it. Good. And then let's see how this new structure works. Okay, we want to see whether this is going to give us the same result. I know there's going to be a problem, but I'll tell you why. So let me just show you that there's going to be an issue first. So let's run the program. Run the program brought up this. Okay. it says, well, Mr. Emmanuel, I cannot just do this because you're putting two print statements. You're putting two print statements together and I'm having an issue. Okay, two print statements cannot follow in this kind of code structure. So what do? It is programmed to work with only one instruction per condition. But here we are having two instructions per condition. Okay, which we also put here too. Instruction 1, instruction 2, and then put condition 1. And then the other one too, instruction 1 and instruction 2 and then condition 2. So we're having two instructions per condition and this guy is not finding it funny for this single line structure. So what do? We have to find a way around it to make it to be one instruction and yet still achieve this purpose. So that is why a programmer must have sense. So apart from you knowing the right tools to use at every time to achieve anything you want to achieve, you must also have this initiative. You must have brain, you must have sense to find a way around things, especially when something goes wrong. And maybe a particular thing you want to achieve is not originally permitted, but yet you still want to achieve that thing. Then you find an alternative way around it. So this is where intelligence comes into place in computer programming. All right, so you need to be technically intelligent to achieve certain things. Okay, so now I'm looking for a way to convert everything to convert the two instructions, the two print instruction into one, and then still achieve the same result as before. All right, or at least something fairly the same. Okay, if not totally the same. So what do I do here? Well, I want to find a way to put these two print statements into one, and then this is where the new line stuff come into place. All right. So remember that backlash that I taught you in a previous lesson, where if you want something displayed on a new line, let me just quickly run an example for you. Let's say you have you say print Mr. Emmanuel teaches how to code. Then if I want the next thing I write to fall on a new line, so I'm going to just put the backlash and then I put the n there. So that backlash n, I'm trying to tell Python that whatever I type next, even though it is inside the same print statement, inside the same print argument, okay, just put that thing, show it on the next line. So it's also applicable when you're using the input statements too. It's also applicable when you're using the inputs. It works for that too. So if you want your prompt to be on more than one line, okay, you can still use this. So let's say Mr. Emmanuel teaches how to code. He is a nice man. Okay, if I run this code now, you see what's going to happen. You see Mr. Emmanuel teaches how to code. He is a nice man. So it drops this one on a new line. Okay, you see that? So that is exactly what this stuff does. This backlash n, it throws the next set of statements on a new line. Okay, but it has to be in a format. It has to be inside the string. Okay, it would not work if it is not within the quotes, or if it is not made a string itself. So it has to be a string itself before it works. All right. So what I'm just trying to say is that if I had put something like this, maybe if I cover this and I quote this one too. Okay, so you see that if I made it this way, you see that it's now white in color because Python is assuming it to be a variable since you didn't put a quote around it. So the quotes cover from here to here and from here to here. So that's what it covers. So this side is made a string, this side is also made a string. Why this one is not a string? If you run it this time around, you're going to run into an error, okay, because you had made the new line stuff to, you didn't make it a quote, you didn't make it a string. So unexpected character after line continuation character. So this new line, this backlash n is called the line continuation character, okay? So it's used to continue a new set of string that is written after it on a new line. So it will not work because you did not make it a string. But if I had made it a string on its own, let's say I put this here and I put this here. So I made it a string on its own, then yeah, it would work. Okay, if I made it a string on its own and I run it, it works. So otherwise you can also put it inside a single, just put everything inside a single string and then, you know, you run it. Take this one off. So now everything is in a single string coverage, okay, and then you run it, it will still work. So the idea is that it must be a string on its own for it to work. All right, so we are going to bring that idea, we're going to bring it into this one. Okay, so bring it in here and then we are going to use that to, so like that is how coding is, okay? You are taught you are taught how to use different tools, okay? Then it is now up to you as a programmer to know which tools to apply at different kind of instances to achieve anything you want to achieve. Okay, so that is how it goes. So you put this here. Instead of having two prints, I'm just going to put the two of them inside a single bracket like this, and I want this one to fall into a new line. So I'm going to separate the variable from the string, so which means I want to create a string backlash n, which is the new line character, okay? But I'm going to make it a string, because if it is not a string, it's not going to work. All right, so because then I'm going to make it a string, and all right, run it this way. Okay, but you know Python will not work when you follow a string immediately with a variable without putting a comma. So you put a comma, okay, to separate the string from the variable. Otherwise, it will return an error. So the comma doesn't only separate the string from the variable, it also creates a spacing, you know, a one character spacing. All right, so that's how it works. Okay, you do the same for the other parts. You do the same. So we have the first print here, and then we have the next print. So you're going to remove this print and comma, you put the new line character backlash n, and you close it and put a comma so that it will separate from between the string and the next variable, okay? And then you come to the other one too, you clear this off, print, okay, comma, and you put the stuff too, the backlash n, okay. So you might just connect it with this, just having a single, so that it's just goes along with this string, the last string. Okay, it puts everything inside the same string quotes to make them all strings in one. Okay, so I think we are good to go. We've been able to separate between the string, in each case, the string and the integer, and the variable in each case. So I think we are just good to go. So we're going to run this code now and see what comes of it. So let's run it. No error, everything is fine. Okay, if there was an error, it should have highlighted it. Since it brought out this prompt, it means no error. So let's put a number less than 10, let's say 8, then you press enter. So let's see what happens here. All right, so it worked. It said, great job, you have entered number 8. 8 is less than 10. The only difference between this and the former one and the regular code structure is that there is a spacing between here and here. And this spacing is by the virtue of the comma that you put in between the new line character and the variable number. And without this comma, it wouldn't have worked, because in Python you must separate the string from the variable using a comma. Without that, it would not work. Okay, so I think another way we could have really achieved this, I mean, it's coming close to the wall, it's probably by using some other means. You know, I taught you three methods of string formatting. You know, the comma method, which is the regular one, and then I think I taught you also how to format the output of a print statement using the placeholders, using the percentage placeholder, using the braces. Okay, that is the dot format method, and then also using the f string. All right, so well, you could experiment on your own using any of those methods to see which one you can apply to make us have this 8 close to the wall. But I do not intend going all that far in this video, otherwise it gets too lengthy. Okay, so but then the idea is just to show you how to achieve this, to just show you that you can put all these things in a single line and then it works. All right, so you could just experiment other stuffs on your own and see how you can close up this gap if you find anyone that works for you. But I'm not just going to go into that in this lesson. Okay, all right, so let's run it again and see if we can put up a condition that favors the next one, which is being equal to 10. So which means we are going to put 10 there. So 10 is equal to 10. So we expect that the second command should run when we meet with the second condition, where that is a case whereby the number you entered is equal to 10. So we have put 10 there now, and we run it, and it gave us our results. Great job, you have entered number 10. 10 is equal to 10. Okay, so let's see what happens if we put something that is more than 10, 15 for instance, and then it says you have entered number 15. Sorry, this input is invalid. Okay, and then you know the reason why this one started from the wall, because it did not, the new line character here was not followed by a variable, and we did not put a comma. So if it had been followed by a variable immediately, we must put a comma, and the comma would have made a single character spacing there. All right, so but that did not happen here, and then we're fine, we're good to go. Okay, so you see how it goes now, and that is just that as per that. So we've been able to achieve that, and on a single line, and I think we have done a whole lot as far as this lesson is concerned. And so in that case, we call it a day. I hope you've learned a lot. See you in the next video. Bye.